All right, we're live. Hey, welcome back to the Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast. It's the only channel not trying to sell you Costa Rica. Hey, today is the first Sunday of the month, which means, hey, it's Q&A. You know, that's like getting a free 60-minute phone consultation with me. And instead of paying $100, you get your answers absolutely free while you're on the call. So, hey, make sure that you join us live. Make sure that you are engaging. Hey, ask lots of questions. You know, make sure to comment, share, subscribe, and, it helps out the channel a whole lot by you just being interactive. When you're interactive, you're putting in your questions. I can come up here and I can highlight them so that I can come back and make sure to answer them. But today, we're not really talking about any one specific topic. Matter of fact, hey, nothing is off the table. So, hey, if you want to know the truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly about Costa Rica, today's your day. The first Sunday of every month is live Q&A. Now, keep in mind that I lost track of what I was about to say. Anyway, be engaging. Make sure you put your comments and questions, everything in there, and go ahead and ask them now. Anything that you want to ask. Now, of course, I'm going to tell you the truth, and I can tell you that right off the bat. I really, really love Costa Rica. Hasn't always been that way. And I can tell you that when you first come to Costa Rica, it's highly advisable, man. Don't buy a piece of property. Travel around, live for a year. See if you like it, because Costa Rica is very, very different. And the biggest thing is the culture. And when you begin to understand the culture, well, you understand why it takes 2 hours to deposit a check at the bank. Something that really you can do in 60 seconds or less than 5 minutes in an ATM in the United States. Things are very, very, very different. So anyway, hey, give me a shout out. Let me know, where are you watching from? All right. So let me put that in there right now. And I'll put that in the chat box. Hey, shout out. Let me know, where are you watching from? Okay. Let me know. Have you been in Costa Rica? Do you live in Costa Rica? And hey, ask your questions. Okay. That way, I don't have to keep thinking of different things to kind of tell you. But sometimes, I try to remind you. Now, keep in mind, I have been, our lives haven't been regular. And they haven't been regular. There's been times when at the last minute I've had to cancel. And that's because I'm taking care of my neighbor who's, really old, has no family here. And he's in his last days. So unfortunately, it's just a circle of life. When we're born, we need a whole lot of help. We grow up and get strong. But then when we start dying, well, we need a lot of help, And so anyway, I've been really busy taking care of that fella. And anyway, I'll continue to do that. But I don't think it's going to be much longer. But that has really kind of put a burden on me. And really, no one's put that burden on me except myself, just out of a good heart, I'm helping this guy because, hey, I think if I'm dying, I want someone to take care of me. So, hey, so welcome, Uncle Chico. Uncle Chico. Hey, I think Uncle Chico's in Florida, I think. Welcome, but he didn't say where he's from. Hey, Sarong's here. Hello, Vicky, currently in Puriscal. Ken in North California. And Ed over in Ochakau. Hey, did you know, matter of fact, I talked to a couple of people today that was from Uvita. Now, Uvita has been a hot spot, right? I don't even know why it's a hot spot. There's really nothing there for it to be a hot spot other than it is hot down there because you're on the coast. And, of course, they got the whale's tail, which is really nothing but a piece of dirt that you can see in it. Looks like a whale's tail. But one of the cool things Uvita does have is you can actually see whales there from time to time because whales come from all over the place and they mate right there. So that's kind of like the lookout. Hey, when you were kids, do you remember going out to the lookout and parking? Anyway, that's where whales go parking. So anyhow. So, but what I was going to say, I got sidetracked. There's a couple that came here today. They came here, touring the area. Anyway, long story short, they've been over in Uvita around since 2014. and said that Uvita is just, it's over, I can't say populated, but they built so much. There's so many expats going that way because it's the hot spot that now they've got, it's overpopulated because the infrastructure is not in place. Now that's something that nobody will tell you, okay? Because you're coming from the United States, and you know what? In the United States, when they get ready to build a subdivision or whatever, well, guess what? There's codes, there's enforcement, there's rules, and so the infrastructure is in place to take care of the people. Well, there is no there's no great infrastructure in Costa Rica like it is in the United States. Keep in mind, Costa Rica is a third world country or a less developed country, and so the infrastructure, while they got some roads and stuff, it's the population in some places like Uvita is growing way faster than in the infrastructure that was there. And so this guy says, hey, the electricity goes off all the time. The water goes out, And so he's telling about all this. He says, hey, these farmers out there in Ticos, they're clearing huge pieces of land, selling that stuff, and people are buying it because obviously you come from Canada, United States, whatever country you're from, and, normally you don't have problems. Well, when you come to Costa Rica, no matter where you live at, except maybe, and I always like to throw in this exception, except maybe the San Jose and metropolitan area, that place is a concrete city, right? It's kind of like a lot of the cities in the United States. So, but anywhere else in Costa Rica, the electricity goes off all the time. The infrastructure is just not there, okay? So it's just one of those things that you need to be aware of. Before you move to Uvita, hang around Uvita. Go to the farmer's market, go to the store. When you see other expats, ask them, hey, how's your experience living in Uvita? What about the electricity, the internet? Does it go out? Does it blink? Do you have problems? All of that stuff. Ask those questions, okay? And hey, I like this. Thomas says that, hey, the costs are USA plus in Uvita. And look, that's not just in Uvita, but, pretty much anywhere. I mean, look, I live out in the middle of nowhere, okay, remote. Well, here's the facts. The facts are that if you live in Costa Rica, you don't come here because it's cheaper. It's not, okay? And this just really burns me up because, well, this YouTuber that loves to help people move to Costa Rica sent out an email that one of my subscribers sent to me and said, hey, let's just face it. Black Friday is right around the corner. You're going to get tons and tons of emails, about Black Friday specials. And by the way, I'm going to give you a Black Friday special. But did you know, really, cost is just going up everywhere. I mean, it's just getting so dang expensive to live. And that's another good reason to move to Costa Rica. That's an outright lie, okay? It's more expensive to live in Costa Rica than it is to live in the United States or Canada, okay? That's all it is to it. Okay, now, and I'm saying comparing apples to apples, okay? Because if you come to Costa Rica, let's say that you do not have a mortgage, you buy a house, you don't have a mortgage, so all you got is you're buying your food, your cost of living, okay? It's going to be more expensive to live in Costa Rica than it would be in the United States. The only way Costa Rica is cheaper is that, yes, if you don't buy a house and you decide to rent in Costa Rica, yes, Costa Rica can be cheaper because you can rent. I've rented a house for $150 a month, okay? So you can rent very cheap. Now, it's a Tico house. Probably most expats wouldn't live in that. But hey, if all you're looking for is something that is a decent house, you can live cheaper, because look, I mean, $150 a month or $300 a month or $500 a month, that's way cheaper than most people in the United States that's paying rent at $1,500, $2,000 a month, okay? So that's the only place that you can save a huge amount of money when coming to Costa Rica. But like I said, apples to apples. You have no mortgage in the United States, no mortgage here because you sold your house in the United States, paid cash for it here, and all it is cost of living. Yes, your cost of living in Costa Rica almost anywhere is going to be more expensive. Now, can you save money? Yes, but we'll talk about that on another episode. And that's how, if you want to live like a Tico, absolutely. That's not going to be the funnest thing in the world, but most Ticos, all over the Costa Rica live on under $1,000 a month. Most Ticos, okay? So that's just facts, folks. So I really hate it when YouTubers and people in Costa, say, oh yeah, it's cheap. No, it's not. That's a lie, okay? So let me come through here. I'm gonna look at some of these questions right here because I can get on a tangent. Now, Travel World says that, hey, very happy living in Los Yoses Barrio, Escalante, San Jose. I probably messed that up, okay? But he says it's very underrated. And I'm glad you put that out there. There are a lot of places that's really underrated. It's like San Isidro. Love San Isidro. A lot of people don't know about it. But you got all these little bitty barrios. And if you don't know what a barrio, it's a neighborhood. Tons of little neighborhoods all over the place. And we lived in one neighborhood. It was called Pedregoso. Pedregoso, highly underrated. Great little old place. However, it had grown tremendously. And so the infrastructure, the water, couldn't keep up with the demand of houses. And so people were buying property and they had to get on a waiting list to get water, okay? But there's a lot of places. You just got to be careful. But there's a lot of places in Costa Rica that's totally underrated. Hey, welcome, Roger. He says he's from Florida and loving this right here. Here's one of my buddies. He's over in Ochakau. Matter of fact, you need to look him up if you ever go that way. He actually has a panderia with his partner, and I've been wanting to go by there, and I will one of these days. But hey, you need to be sure to go check this guy out. This is a super, super nice guy. Go check him out. He came to one of my retreats, and just a super nice guy, real helpful, and he's got a great business going on now down in his area. So welcome. Hey, Uncle Chico, so glad you're here to see us. Hadn't seen you in a long time. Now, Uncle Chico likes to support our channel. A lot of people support our channel, and I really can't say enough, for so many people that do support our channel. And there's a lot of different ways that you can, and I don't like to spend a whole lot of time, but you can donate, you can right there where you comment, you get the $sign, and you can just give. But we greatly appreciate your support, because everything we do on our channel we do for free. And so by you supporting us a little bit, it encourages us to continue doing the right thing. I don't ever want to sell you Costa Rica, okay? That's just not my game. So I greatly appreciate, really greatly appreciate Uncle Chico, who supports us in that way. And Travel World says he divides his time between Costa Rica, and he's a resident in Thailand, and he's a Thailand resident. Now, that's a very, very smart move. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that exact same thing. Matter of fact, hey, my residency papers just got submitted, I think, last week. So now I got to wait about 12 to 18 months before we get that approval. But, of course, hey, my favorite attorney, really great people, and that's Blue Zone Legal. Make sure you check the link in the description below. They are, without a doubt, the best in the world. They know what they're doing, very professional. They keep you updated. And, I told you folks before, many years ago, I had Costa Rica immigration experts. The only thing they're expert at is taking your money. That's Joanna and Glenn Teller. Look, I spent $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 and stink it. 8 years later, they still didn't do anything. Okay. So, hey, that's just, you got to be careful in Costa Rica. And look, Thomas says groceries are way off the chart. Look, now, this is something that I kind of find, like if you live over the San Jose metropolitan area, sometimes the grocery seems to be a little bit higher. Cost of living is higher in the San Jose area, metropolitan area. Now, you know what? Groceries, dude, I often wonder, how do Ticos afford? I mean, these Ticos living on under $1,000 a month. Somebody, especially now where I live at, some of these people, they're farmers. They might be making $250 a month. Now, obviously, they're farmers. They're growing stuff. They don't have to buy a lot of groceries, but they still got to buy groceries. They still got to buy rice and meat and all that. Look, I go to the grocery store the other day because, I eat mostly vegetarian. Dude, I had a basket cost me $80 in vegetables. Now, I can be honest and say that the vegetables I buy, if I go to the feria, the farmer's market, the vegetables I buy there are going to be cheaper and better quality than what I would buy in the United States. Doesn't mean it's organic, but it's typically usually going to be better quality, okay? But I just don't know how some people do it. The Ticos, that is. Reinhardt says, Uvita is a very transient community, mostly tourists and Airbnb rentals, and that's why he opted for Ochakal. I'm glad you threw that in there. Uvita does have, it's really just kind of blowing up right now, and it's pretty crazy. Hey, Sarong brings this in, and I was going to actually mention that today. He says, did you see on AM Costa Rica article just said that the U.S. dollar is its lowest it's been since she's come in 2006. Saying it's 4.90. Matter of fact, when I saw it, it was probably a little bit lower than 4.90 to the dollar. And I know when I came in, the exchange rate was like it's kind of steady, 500 and a little above to the dollar, where the dollar were always stronger than the colonas. So here's the question: why is it that the colones right now, the colona is stronger? The colona is much stronger than the dollar. Why is that? I don't have the answer. I'm not going to tell you I know for certain, but here's what I think is happening. Obviously, the economy in the United States is getting better and better. It's getting stronger and stronger because of the current administration, okay? But what's happening over here is we have the current administration and the president that started out really good and now kind of turned sour, and a lot of people don't like. Well, he's getting out. He gets out in February, if I recall, okay? But he gets out soon, and a new president comes in. So typically, that's kind of what I see happening in the past, is that I don't know why, okay, but the colona gets really strong as the president's leaving, and then a new president comes in. And does it continue to get stronger, or does it drop? A lot of that depends on the actions of the new president. But hey, I won't pretend to know all the ins and outs. I could be completely, totally, 100% wrong. So if you know why the colona is stronger than the dollar, give me your comments, give me your input. Tell me, I'll definitely share. Because hey, if I'm wrong, I will admit I'm wrong. But I think most of the time I'm right. Matter of fact, I thought I was wrong one time, but I was only mistaken. No. I'm just joking. Just joking. Hey, welcome, Thomas and Ochakal. Hey, I love this. Barbon says he's lived in Costa Rica from 1965 to 1977. All right. Well, I'm glad you said that. But now tell me, why did you live in Costa Rica for 12 years and then hit the road, Jack? Don't come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Tell me, why did you live here for 12 years and then leave? I bet that's an interesting story. Now, Ed says, I personally could not afford the quality of life, I left in the United States. Hey, you're absolutely right. If you wanted to take the same exact quality of life you have in the United States, bring it over here to Costa Rica, dude, it would cost you twice as much. Especially since in Costa Rica, the more electricity you use, the more expensive it gets. Okay, in the United States, the more you use, the cheaper it gets, but not in Costa Rica. So yeah, absolutely, it could cost you a lot if you wanted to keep that same quality of life. And Sarong kind of agrees with what I was saying, said that she has a friend that has enough scale gourmet donut shop in Fort Lauderdale, who was in Costa Rica last summer for a month, traveling around, and said that it was more expensive in Costa Rica than Miami. And look, I've been knowing that since I came here. When I came here, now, of course, I made the mistake of not doing any research. And at the time, Rebecca had a friend, and when we were living in Las Vegas, and she said she's been doing all this research, and you've heard the story. Long story short, after several hours, Rebecca was sold on it, and she talked about how cheap it was, how she was going to San Vito, and that's why we ended up in San Vito. And you know what? We moved to San Vito, didn't do any research. I'm talking about 30 days after she talked to that woman, we were in Costa Rica with 10 suitcases and a dog, okay? Didn't know the first word of Spanish. Don't do that, people. Only cuckoos like me do that, okay? That's why I started this channel. I made every mistake in the book, and I don't want you to make it, okay? So I'm sharing with you. Don't do that. Do your research. She used to, many years ago, it was cheaper to live in Costa Rica. That's not the case anymore, okay? All right. Now, Thomas shares that the inflow of foreign currency has bolstered the colon, okay, providing a firmer footing in foreign exchange markets. I don't know anything about the exchange market, but that's his input on that. So thanks for sharing that, Thomas. So I'm kind of just, as I pause, I'm reading these questions. Now, Bruce says that we have inflationary conditions here in the United States. 40% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, according to the last post. And look, I could agree with that. There are a ton of people who are living paycheck to paycheck. It has just gotten to be extremely expensive to live in the United States. Now, does that mean that you can live in Costa Rica cheaper? Well, that depends on if you change your lifestyle. If you change your lifestyle, yes, you can live cheaper. I know for the majority of the time that I was in Costa Rica, I lived on under $1,000 a month. We pinched our pennies. It wasn't fun because, we were trying to save money because while we were renting, we tried not to spend any money. We were saving money for this place right here. So, we attempted to see, can I live on under $1,000? Yes, you can, but you're eating a lot of rice and beans and you're not going out a whole lot. And, and then if an emergency happens, if your car breaks down, and, that's the cool thing about Costa Rica, you don't need a car. You don't need a motorbike. Matter of fact, first couple of years, we traveled only on a motorbike, and so that's what's neat about Costa Rica is they do have lots of public transportation. And now since they have Uber and Didi, wow, man, I mean, you could just travel everywhere. See, used to, before Uber and Didi, well, you might have to walk a kilometer or two to the next bus stop, but bus stops all over the place. But Costa Rica has a lot of remote areas where the buses can't go. So then you would have to walk to the next big road, which might be a kilometer or two. But with Ubers, you don't have to do that anymore. You get an Uber, and an Uber take you from point A to point B, which might be the bus stop. And then you can grab the public bus from there to town or to San Jose or wherever. So with public transportation, you can save a ton of money because now you don't have automobile upkeep and you don't have automobile insurance. But automobile insurance is a lot cheaper in Costa Rica than it is in the United States. And so Sarong says her sister just returned to the U.S. after 14 years of living in Costa Rica and having just gotten her citizenship. So I'm guessing, Sarong, your sister got her citizenship in Costa Rica, but then after 14 years decided to go back to the United States. And so, hey, why did she go back to the United States? I'd like to hear that story. Was she tired of the red tape? Was she tired of just all of the crap? Was she tired of the gringo pricing? Was she just tired of the bad infrastructure? The majority of the people that come to Costa Rica leave after 2 years because they get fed up with it. Now, some people will not admit why they left. Hey, I tell you what, I don't know how many times I was this close to leaving Costa Rica, but I kept telling myself, once I get my own slice of paradise, once I can control all right, we're back. We were buffering there for just a second. But anyway, I've always said, once you can control your environment, and anyway, I bought my piece of property. Now, I don't have motorcycles and cars and 18 wheelers, and I don't have someone next door to me that gets up with his weed whacker at 6 o'clock in the morning and on a Sunday morning at that, So life gets a lot better when you can control your environment. Now, Ed says that the tourist income and exports are what has helped evaluate the dollar. Now, has that made the dollar lose its power, lose its strength? Or is it helping the dollar to stay stronger? And Strong says that her sister left because of pricing hugely and some medical issues. Now, you can get, and I'm glad you shared that with us. Now, you can get good medical treatment. And you can buy medical insurance. Is it the same? It's not quite the same. It's not, in the United States, you pay a lot and insurance is expensive, but it's kind of like a dog and pony show, man. People will bring you food, take care of, the hospital takes care of you. It's all top notch, but it is crazy, crazy expensive in the United States. You can get very good medical care in Costa Rica, but unless you pay for a private room, you might be in a room with 4 or 5 people in it. It's very different. And Esquire says, I don't know if it's cheaper in the U.S. He says, we went back November 5th for 5 days, and I went to Walmart, got 2 plastic bags, and that was $250. Hey, I agree with you. I was back there. Well, I think it was in November myself. Went to Miami to the VA hospital. Look, man, I was kind of scared to pull out my wallet. Yeah, everything. I was like, really? It costs that much? But, I hadn't been there in 12 years. I'd go periodically. But, things have changed a lot in the United States. And in case the rest of you wondered, what's that clicking in the background? Sounds like a printer. Well, it's sprinkling a little bit here. Even though summer has come, and my neighbor was just here a while ago, and he's like, we've had 2 nights of 2 evenings of really good rain. Very, very unusual because summer's here. It's December, and we've had some beautiful summer mornings. But anyway, that's what you hear. You hear the rain falling off the trees, and it hits the pitter-patter of my tin roof. Now, Thomas says, Gringo pricing burnout made me leave. Look, that's the thing that's one of the biggest reasons that I almost leave. I'm a very transparent, extremely, extremely honest guy. And I just thought everyone else was honest too. Well, when I came to Costa Rica and, 9 out of 10 people were trying to rip me off, I was like, oh, man, So here's what it did teach me. It taught me, do not trust everybody. I used to just trust everybody, give the shirt off my back for anybody and everybody. Well, it wasn't that a way. I just felt like maybe I got lucky. Maybe when I was in Louisiana, I just was a good old boy and lived in a good place, and the majority of people were friendly and nice, But doggone it, not here. Very, very different. Okay. Now, you know what? Talking about how different things are. I remember when I was younger in the United States, man, I could walk down the road, stick my thumb out, and I can catch a ride. Well, I thought I would test that. So I was in Miami, and I had a B&B. It was about 3 miles away from the VA hospital. Of course, I didn't rent a car or anything. I'm right there. I'm a health nut. And so I'm either jog or walk back and forth to the hospital. Well, I'm right in the middle of the city. So, tons of people. So I put my thumb out there. I'm going to see if I can hitch a ride. Now, they had buses going back and forth. I could have easily grabbed a bus if I really wanted. I just wanted to see, could I get a ride? Look, I must have walked for a mile with my thumb out there. Never even, I had people look at me, but I never had anyone slow down. So, and look, you have to expect that. The world has gone crazy. People are nuts. I couldn't hitch a ride for nothing. Now, John Blair says he spent a week in the area southeast of Bahaga near the Celeste Rio River. Okay. Incredible, untouched area and remote are the areas in San Ysidro like that. Now, there are some areas, but really San Ysidro, in case you don't know, is the second largest and second fastest growing city in all of Costa Rica, with the exception of the San Jose and metropolitan area. So San Ysidro is growing really fast. They are outgrowing their infrastructure, and so now they're getting more traffic jams there, and I hate that part of it. But San Ysidro, what's really, really nice is, even though it's a fairly good-sized town, it ain't huge, and most of the time there's not a ton of traffic, okay? But you can go 15 minutes, 30 minutes around San Ysidro, be elevated where it's cooler climate, and it's really beautiful area with some gorgeous views. Is it untouched? No, it's not untouched, but there are a lot of places that just don't have a lot of people, and it's not touristy at all. There's just nothing for tourists to do in San Ysidro. I mean, the only thing tourists can do close to San Ysidro, which is about 30 minutes from San Ysidro, is to go all the way down to Rivas area, all the way down to San Gerardo, and then what they're doing is they're going to go climb Mount Charapo, okay? And Charapo is Costa Rica's highest mountain, okay? So a lot of people like to go there. Now, this is funny. Sarong says that her Medicare is incredibly cheaper in the U.S., and I can agree with that. So if she made the mistake of coming to Costa Rica, and let's just say that she had a pension of $4,000, she could be paying $600-700 a month in Caja, okay, private medical. Well, if her Medicare is probably cheaper than that, $600 or $700. So people make a lot of mistakes coming down here, and they ask, okay, well, what is your pension? And then of course, I make $5,000 a month, my pension. Well, you don't ever want to make that mistake, okay? And I'm not telling you to lie, but here's what most people do. Most people, they might be getting a pension from, let's say they get their pension from Exxon. They retire from Exxon getting $4,000 a month, and they get Social Security, and the Social Security might be $1,500 a month. You don't have to brag and say, I got $6,500 a month, because you're going to pay Caja on that. Just say, hey, I get $1,500 from the Social Security, and then that's what you'll pay Caja on, and you might pay around $100. So if you make the mistake of disclosing every single penny you get, you're going to pay a lot. And that's what a lot of cuckoo gringos do. They love to brag because I got so much money. Well, good. Pay at Caja, a lot of it too. So anyway, you got to be careful because the majority of the Ticos, they're paying Caja. They're only paying, they might be paying $50 to $100 a month, and they're getting the same care you're getting, okay? It's just that you're a gringo, you've got money, so you get to pay more Caja. You just got to be careful. I'm not telling you to lie. I'm not telling you to cheat. I'm just telling you how it is, okay? Now, hey, and Travel says in Thailand, the cost of living is super, super, super cheap for everything. Cheaper than in Colombia, which is very cheap. And you have a short, cheap flight to Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia. Now, you know what, Travel, I'm glad that you brought that up because, hey, I think it was early this year in May, I went to the Philippines. I had some outsourcers, some people that work online from me from the Philippines for many, 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 many years in my online business. And I decided to go on vacation, go check it out. And the Philippines, wow. In the Philippines, cost of living in the Philippines, so much cheaper than it is in Costa Rica. Most of the people in the Philippines make way less than the people in Costa Rica. The only thing that's crazy expensive in the Philippines, anything touristy. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a pro on the Philippines. I was only there a month, had a great time, came back here, and if I was to ever leave Costa Rica, then I did do some research, and I found one place in the Philippines that's beautiful. It's almost the same level as this, but the only difference they don't have the jungle. You know, pretty much all of the Philippines. I think some places have a few trees and some monkeys, but for the most part, it's cleared out. You don't have the wildlife in the Philippines that we have in Costa Rica. You know, I love the wildlife that I have here in Costa Rica. Now, Bruce says it's now $202.90 starting in 2026 for Medicare. All right. So okay. All right. So that kind of goes back to the conversation we had a while ago with Sarong saying her sister's Medicare. So if you're paying on average $200 for your Medicare, that's a whole lot cheaper than declaring to Costa Rica that you're getting $4,000 a month for your pension. And now Costa Rica is sticking it to you and you're getting $700 in caja. That just don't make sense at all, okay? So you have to understand living in Costa Rica is not cheap, okay? If you came here because someone told you it was cheap, they lied. So you can go thank that other YouTuber who loves to help people who claims, oh, by the way, if you're watching, we've conned hundreds of people. We've helped hundreds of people move to Costa Rica, and we're helping them move to Panama too. Yeah, go right ahead. Keep conning people. Keep lying to them. Now, you know, there's nothing wrong with getting a little bit of help if you're honest, but you got to be careful. Most content creators, the reason they're creating content is so that they can make money off of you. You know, for me, so you got to wonder, well, Alan, how come you do it? Well, I make money from my online business, and I'm not wealthy. I'm not rich. I got a lot of, no, I don't need your money. I want your money, and I would love for you to support, but I'm not going to sit here and beg you to support the channel. This is something I love to do. I love to give back. I love to help people, and because I've been conned so many times. So that's just why I do what I do. And yes, absolutely, the San Isidro Thursday. Now, the farmers market is on Wednesday and Thursday, and it is a great place to meet other expats. Man, it's the thing to do. So, you know, whenever I go to San Isidro, like I'll go there next week, in a couple of weeks, I got to go take my wife, dentist appointments and stuff. I always try to make my appointments on either Wednesday or Thursday. That way, I can go to the farmer's market. I can buy a ton of groceries, so a ton of produce. So until my garden gets going and I'm producing what I want, you know, of course, I'm sure I won't produce everything, but I'll produce a lot. But the farmer's market, the feria, that's the thing to do. And I might be wrong, but I think San Isidro has one of the largest farmer's market in all of Costa Rica. So, man, and look, here's what's funny. Even if you want to get a booth and sell at the farmer's market, you can. So Thursdays, and at the very end of the feria is where, not a big number, but there's quite a few expats who are selling their stuff at the farmer's market. So, hey, it's a way to kind of offset the cost of living in Costa Rica. You want to make a few bucks. Now, Esquire, he shares that caja for him is $120 a month, okay? Medicare, I guess, now is around $220, okay? And it was $178. Now, and that's times two people. Now, keep in mind, his caja is $120, right? So, obviously, he's declaring maybe his Social Security income, and maybe that's the only income he has, and maybe it's not. But, see, his caja is $120 a month based on his Social Security income, or, you know, something like that. And he says now what he likes about caja is there's no deductions, no co-payments. And of course, that's something that, so you can look and compare. You know, you got Medicare, you got other health insurance in the United States, you got co-pay, you got deductions, all of that crap, right? But hey, caja, $120, you know, and he's got no deductions, no co-pay. And so, and you can get, now, keep in mind, that's the social medicine. That's not private health care. So you go to social medicine. Now, are you going to have to stand in line? Yes. Is the customer service going to be crappy? Yes. Will the health care be great? Yes, the health care is going to be great. but it's not going to be, it's kind of like herding cattle. You know, they're going to herd you through and you're going to get your treatment. Okay, you're going to get your health care, but the health care is going to be great. So anyway, so Sharon says, sorry I wasn't clear. My sister's medical care in the U.S. through Medicare is significantly cheaper in Oregon versus Costa Rica private medical system. So, hey, that's good to know. So, you know, there's lots of, there's lots of ways that you can actually save a ton of money in Costa Rica, okay? But it really all depends on you. So, you know, if you want to save money in Costa Rica, you absolutely can. If, if you want to bring your same identical lifestyle in the United States, Costa Rica, well, you better be prepared to pay double, 1.5 double. It's going to cost you a whole lot more. Matter of fact, when I first moved to San Vito, I met this one guy. He was comical, man. He had this house, and man, I mean, he had this, I'd call it a lair, a bachelor's lair. Man, that baby, it was pimped out. I mean, pool table and refrigerators everywhere, and I bet you his electricity was $1,000 a month. But hey, he had an unbelievable place. But you know what? He brought his lifestyle from the United States to there, and I know he was paying more. Oh, okay. So Sarong is correcting me. She says farmers market is Thursday and Friday, not Wednesday. So I think it used to be Wednesday and Thursday. I don't go that often. Hey, thanks so much for correcting me. Darn, that's the first time I've ever made a mistake. Gosh, dog it. Farmers market on Thursday and Friday. Told you I was never wrong. So anyway, I love it. I love it. I love it. So tell me, we've had lots of great comments, a lot of interactions, but hey, there's 16 people on here right now. Hey, how about hitting that like button? Support this channel. That's one of the great ways to support this channel. You can send me $1 million or you can hit the like button. Which one's easier? Send the $1 million. No. Anyway, hey, 19 people here. All right, 19 people on live right now. What questions you have? I want to know what's the one thing that's keeping you from moving to Costa Rica. Are you still researching? Are you scared of the gringo price? What is it you're scared of? What is it you're afraid might happen? Or hey, tell me the one reason you've decided you're moving to Costa Rica. Hey, maybe someone talked you into it. Tell me, I'd like to get your input. If you've been to Costa Rica and left, I really would like to know, why did you leave? And there's a lot of reasons. A lot of people who leave and they won't admit that they tired of the crap. They was, missed family, and they come up with these stupid reasons. Now, Ed says, I hear there's a rodeo, San Rafael Civic Festival in Perezeladon. Have you heard about it? And do you have any info? Now, every year in some of the big towns, like whenever I was over in San Vito, they always had a rodeo once a year. So, cowboying up, boy, if you want to be a cowboy, there's a lot of places that still do rodeos, including San Isidro. San Isidro in the Perezeladon area always have a rodeo every year. I haven't been there. I want to go. But so sorry that I don't have any information on the actual rodeo. But hey, if you hear about it, let me know. Because I would like to go and actually cover that story, because in San Isidro, and it's at the same location down by the city mall, but there's a place where they have a cattle auction, okay? And so they have a cattle auction, and they auction off cattle every week. And I think it's on a Thursday. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, a lot of fun. And Ed says that it's supposed to be December 17th at 7 p.m. Well, dang, that's right around the corner. I got a buddy I'm going to call. So I'm going to write that down on my calendar and see if I can't remember to ask my buddy. And he's got a restaurant right next door to there. If anybody knows for sure, he'll know. But yeah, I sure would like to cover that event. That's always a lot of fun. Of course, being it's right around the corner, I may not be able to break away from here if not to sound insensitive, but if the guy I'm taking care of is not dead, well, I stay up here. If he has passed on, and I probably should have said it away. Anyway, if he hasn't passed away, I'll probably still be here taking care of him because I just can't get away. But if he has passed away, well, then I'll probably go and go check it out. I'd like to do that. And look, I mean, the guy I'm taking care of, he's ready to go. He's like, I don't know why I'm still alive. I should be dead by now, you know. And so, hey, you know, you get that old and you get ready. You're ready to go, and I can understand that. So, hey, give me some input. No one has told me what's the one thing that's keeping them from coming to Costa Rica. I'd like to know. Ow. And of course, as you folks can see, I am still enjoying my crystal beer. Okay. You know, every once in a blue moon, I actually have a real Allen's apple juice, but that's not often. And, you know, for you folks that hadn't heard, well, that's because my wife and I, we are planning on having a family, having children. And at my age, I got to do everything I can to make sure that I remain healthy and fertile so I can have children. So that's the reason I'm drinking a lot of crystal beer. So for all you folks out there, cheers. I think I got a spot on my camera there as a bug. Now, William says communication in Spanish is a big minus at times. You know, while you do not have to know Spanish to live in Costa Rica, man, it is a huge plus if you can learn Spanish. And matter of fact, my new wife, dang, she is killing it in her Spanish. I mean, you know, she has more time to study than I do. But gosh, dog it, boy. My wife, Angel, and she's been practicing a whole lot on Duolingo. And Duolingo's really great, except, you know, Duolingo's teaching you Spanish. There's no such thing as finding Costa Rica Spanish on Duolingo. But, man, she is killing it. I mean, her Spanish is so much better than me. And anyway, that's almost embarrassing to say, but she's got time to study, and I think she actually loves studying. She's an intelligent woman, but she's killing it. And hey, thank you so much, John Blair. He says, congrats. And congrats, that's on us getting a family. And Thomas shares this thing for you to consider for all those folks that are coming to Costa Rica. You know, it's very true. The gringos prey on you more so than some of the ticos. There's always some story, edge of a business deal, etc. So this is a warning to those that are considering. And it's, look, if you watched my short, look, you know, I'm not beating up on ticos, okay? I can tell you that 9.5 times out of 10, well, the Tico's going to try to take advantage of you, but there are some honest Ticos. I got some really good, honest friends. My neighbors, really great Ticos. We got a great relationship. I got several good Tico friends. However, the majority of them will take advantage of you simply because you're an expat, okay? And so gringos that come down here and have businesses, especially those that got YouTube channels, they are definitely preying on you and taking advantage of you. Be very, very careful. And I got proof. So, you know, I won't talk about somebody if I don't have proof. And you know what? People say, you shouldn't say that on YouTube. Well, you know what? I have got this habit of I will never say anything I would not say in person to their own face, okay? That's just the way I am. I'm going to be nice about it. But if you're a crook, I'm going to say you're a crook. You're dishonest. You take advantage of people. So I'm glad you shared that, Thomas. Now, Bruce says, how easy or how difficult is it to get a 70-pound Australian cattle dog and a 25-pound Chiweenie down to Costa Rica? Is it better to drive down from Texas or fly? Flying would be more expensive, no doubt. Now, because it's a 70-pound Australian cattle dog. Now, here, first off, you got to have a registered vet that's going to sign off on them. And so not any vet can do that. So, hey, do your research. And I think you can get that information at the United States Embassy, Costa Rican United States Embassy. And but anyway, you want to make sure that you get the right paperwork so that when they arrive in Costa Rica, they can see that your dog has had all its shots. And it's got to be, signed and stamped by an authorized vet that can do that. But getting any old dog here, any small dog, is easy. Getting a 70-pound Australian Shepherd or a cattle dog, a little different story. There's few planes that will actually fly them over, but there are some. I used to house sit in Coweta on the Lemoyne side, and this couple was moving there. Starlink. So anyway, we were buffering there for a minute, but you can get a 70-pound Australian cattle dog here, but you got to find the right airlines to do it, and it is going to cost you. I think it would be better to fly them than it would be to drive down from Texas. Driving down from Texas, that might be a little bit sketchy, but you could do it. And if you do it, whoo, I'd like to know that story. I'd like to interview you once you get here so that I can I'd like to know that deal. I'd love to share that video. Now, Greyhound Girl says, it may not stop me, but I'm concerned about recent reports of increased crime, including home invasions. Man, I'm so glad you brought that up. So let's talk about that for just a moment. Right now, crime is worse than it's ever been in many, many, many years in Costa Rica. Why is that? That's all of the migrants, all of the illegal immigrants that came through here trying to get the United States because of the last administration, okay? Point blank, that's all it is to it. I don't care if you don't agree. That's the facts, okay? Well, a lot of those immigrants stuck right here, and you had the worst and the worst of the people leaving those countries, and so they can't get jobs here, and so they're stealing. Well, there are a lot of home invasions, but here's what's bad, and I'm going to share some of this stuff, and I was thinking about doing a dedicated video for that. Home invasions have increased, and what's happening is that these are what seem like professional home invasion people. And guess what? Some people are claiming, and I don't doubt it, there are police in other words, there's police, off-duty police created their own gang. They're going in and they're robbing places because they know exactly what they're doing. They're going in through the side door. They're going in where there's not cameras. They're going in and they're home invading only, and they're picking out gringos. They're picking out where there's a lot of expats. So that goes to Greyhound Girl. Okay. Where I live at, nobody's coming up here. Why nobody's coming up here? Number one, thieves are lazy. They're not going to go way up in the middle of nowhere. But if you live, let's say in San Isidro, and you're 10 minutes remote and you don't have a lot of people around you, they're going to pick you out. So you got to be thinking when you get ready to come to Costa Rica. So when you come to Costa Rica, it's real easy, real easy, okay? If you want to live in a remote area, 15 minutes away from anybody else and with no neighbors, put a chain link fence all the way around your house. Get you 2 great big bad dogs, big Rottweilers, Dobermans, okay? And pay the money to have them trained to be mean as snakes, okay? And put video cameras on your place and put signs on your fence. Well, guess what? If you do all of that, most likely you will not get invaded, okay? So it's taking some common sense, right? But if you just, you're like, oh, I'm going to be safe. No, don't do it. Don't do it, okay? Okay. And Greyhound Girl says, we haven't had any problems because we're in a gated community. Esquire is telling Greyhound Girl that they hadn't had any problems, but they're in a gated community. So being in a gated community, sometimes you're going to pay HOA fees. So let me know, Esquire, how much is your HOA fees? Do you have HOA fees in your gated community? And Ed says, hey, can you send the location of the Civic Center? And I think, Ed, you're talking about where the rodeo ground is at. And, you know, and if you'll contact me through email, I can get that for you, but I can't do it right now. And, of course, now Jim says a 70-pound cattle dog is at least 25 pounds overweight, bro. Ours is 40 pounds. And so, yeah, because when you know, most of the time you can ship a 70-pound suitcase on airlines, but when you're going overseas or you're going to another country, then they limit it to almost 50 pounds. So you got to be really, really careful. But there are airlines that will ship a 70-pound dog. You just got to find it. And, of course, John Blair is asking Esquire the same thing. Is there a big premium for gated communities? And, yes, you know, when you live in a gated community, most of the time it is going to be more expensive, okay? But it doesn't mean that all of them are, okay? Because I know someone that lives in a gated community, and I think they pay like $80 a month, okay? So you do have to be careful. I mean, you just got to do your research. And Esquire actually replies back and says, depends on which community. Right now, it's $130 a month, but it also includes guards, road upkeep, and trash. So really, $130 a month to never have to worry about a home invasion, that's not bad, you know, especially if they're supposed to take care of the road and guards, you know. So that's really not bad. Thanks for giving me that info, Esquire. And you know, hey, this is a good point right here. Jim Danny says the guards are usually the ones who orchestrate the robberies, so it's better to live around other Ticos. So absolutely, that does happen a whole lot. So I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to be sure to tell that to Greyhound Girl. A lot of people a lot of expats come to Costa Rica and they want to give back. I mean, they have extra money, so what they do? They hire some of the locals. Guess what? They hire a local to come in and cook. Hire a local to come in and be a maid, right? Hire a local to come clean house. Hire a local to come cut the grass. And guess what? The locals are in their house. Don't make that mistake. Don't make that mistake. The majority of home invasions are orchestrated from the locals themselves. Because look, some thug comes in and says, hey, you work for so-and-so gringo. Tell me about their place and I'll give you $100. Okay? And they tell you everything. They will sell you out. And then because they know you're not going to know they sold you out. They're going to get robbed and you're going to keep employing them. Okay. So that happens. And I don't know how many people I've talked to, that exact thing happened. So look, while it's very tempting to hire somebody, before I hire anybody, I would be very, very careful letting them into my house. And I'd be very careful because, hey, you could be a simple target. Now, Ed says he's never regretted investing or moving to Costa Rica. And, of course, he was in Hawaii for half the price. Now, Hawaii is very, very expensive. Way, 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 way more expensive than most of the United States, okay? Now, and Jim Dandy says, hey, get yourself a gun permit, too. And you can get a gun permit after you become a resident, okay? It does take some time, but you can get a gun permit. All right, so AR Girl says to the person asking about coming to Costa Rica with big dogs, use Alaska Airlines if you fly them, okay? So if you got them in your area. And there's also a service that's called Perro Air. In other words, your dog that can transport dogs to their people. So, and you know that, so hey, do your research and it could make life a little bit easier for you. So, hey, lots of great input today. Didn't get nearly as many questions, but lots of great input. I love it when there's lots of input. Hey, I really appreciate all you guys. And if you appreciate me giving you the good, the bad, and the ugly, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure to share. After this video is over, make sure to comment. You know, comment again underneath the video. That will help the algorithm say, hey, this bald-headed knucklehead, he's giving some good information. People like it, and they will help put it out there. So I greatly appreciate it. William says, hey, yeah, I live in a community. Even though I'm a gringo, got some good neighbors, and that means a lot. And that, I'm glad you brought that up, William, because, I found out, like, whenever I was in San Vito, the longer you live there, and once the people around the area realize you live there, well, all of a sudden you don't get the gringo price as much because they realize you're living there. Because gringo pricing is really bad, especially if they think you're a tourist. If you're a tourist, man, they're like, I'll never see that guy again. And they give you the gringo price like crazy, okay? But once you get known, then the gringo price is not nearly as bad, although it still happens because you're traveling around buying stuff and they don't know that you live here, that you're a tourist, okay? So, but hey, once you get settled in a community and you're rooted and you get to know the neighbors and stuff, it can be nice if you can put up with the barking dogs, the roosters, the people out there cutting the grass at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. You gotta. There's a lot of things that happen that you got to adapt to. But that's life in Costa Rica. I love Costa Rica, but there's a lot of stuff that happens that just drive me nuts. So I hope all of this has helped you. Hey, we'll see you next Sunday. And next Sunday, we're going to be talking about what happens at the end of life. Should you have a will? What if you don't have a will? What should you do? I mean, who takes your house? Well, next Sunday, you want to make sure that you're going to be here because I'll have a guest with me, and we're going to be talking about end of life. What happens if you die in Costa Rica? See you folks next week.